Stock options, a byproduct or a derivative of stocks, have become popular instruments among individual investors who manage their own brokerage accounts. There are a number of opinions and misunderstandings when it comes to options trading, so in the following module, we'll introduce the basics of what options are, what are the risks, what are the benefits, and who trades options. An option is a binding agreement that allows you to buy or sell a specific financial instrument, such as a stock, at some point in the future. Just like an insurance policy, there are two sides in the options contract: a buyer, the policy owner, and a seller, the policy issuer. You've just bought a new house. To protect your home against damages such as fire or flood, you purchase homeowners insurance from an insurance company. By purchasing the policy, you, the buyer, and the seller of the policy go into a binding agreement or contract. As a buyer, you have the right to receive financial protection against losses from the insurance company. On the other side, the issuer of the policy, in this case the insurance company, is obliged to reimburse you for any losses suffered. Similarly, a seller of an option contract has the obligation to deliver the stock to the buyer at a specific price. So why buy options over stocks? Well, with options, you get options. Some investors turn to options because they want to protect their investment, as described in the insurance example. Others like the instruments because they can generate some income by selling options on stocks they own. We'll introduce these and other strategies in detail in other learning modules. However, let's walk through an everyday scenario where options can prove rather versatile for an investor or just a buyer. Now, suppose you found a house you'd like to buy, but your money is tied up in a bank for the next 3 months. The seller of the house agreed to sell you the house for $250,000 3 months from now, but he would require a security deposit of $3,000 in case you backed out of the deal. After 3 months, you get your money from the bank and proceed with the agreement to purchase the house for $250,000. Incidentally, the housing market appreciated and your house is now valued at $254,000. Not only are you buying a house you like, but you're buying a house you like that has gained value since you first put a deposit on it. Certainly the circumstances might have gone in a different direction. During the 3 months before the purchase, you discovered negative information about the neighbourhood. For example, the local school is due to close. Would this deter you from buying that house? If it did, you can walk away from the deal without suffering a big financial blow. If you decided to forfeit on the house purchase, you can, as you're under no obligation to buy the house, but you will lose the security deposit of $3,000 for the option to buy the house from the seller. There are 2 types of option contracts: calls and puts. A call option gives the right but not the obligation to its buyer to purchase a specific number of shares of underlying stock at a predetermined price and time. For example, one contract of Delta Airlines December 45 call option will give the buyer the right to buy the shares of the American company at $45 per share before December expiration. Now please note the 45 refers to the strike price. A put gives the owner the right, but not the obligation, to sell a specific number of shares of the underlying stock at a predetermined price and time. For example, one contract of Caterpillar November 7750 put option will give the buyer the right to sell shares of the company at $77.50 at any time before November expiration. Click on the expiration block to find out more. Also known as an exercise price, this is the price at which a buyer can purchase or sell shares of the underlying stock. As in the above example, a buyer of a Delta December 45 call option can exercise or purchase the share of the underlying stock for $45 per share. Options contracts, in a similar way to an insurance policy, will lapse at some point in the future. Stock options expire on the third Friday of the calendar month that contract is assigned to. For instance, Caterpillar November 7750 put will expire on the third Friday of November. Therefore, investors who wish to exercise their options must do so by the close of market on the third Friday of the expiration month. Now, please note most options have expiration of up to 9 months from the date they're issued. But there are longer term options that can have an expiration of up to 3 years. These options are called LEAPs, or long-term equity anticipation securities. The premium is the price per option contract. The price, also known as offer, is quoted in points. If we bought Caterpillar November 77.5 puts at $5.35 per contract, the holder of the contract would multiply the premium of $5.35 by 100. Remember, a standard contract covers 100 shares of stock. So this would mean you would pay $535, not including any brokerage fees. What if you decided to purchase 10 contracts? How much would you pay then? You'd pay $53.50 multiplied by 100, totaling $5,350. Just like stocks, options are listed and traded on exchanges around the world. For instance, options on shares of IBM are listed on Chicago Board Options Exchange, or CBOE, the world's largest options exchange, while shares of Adidas list options on Eurex. An investor will access the exchange through a broker like Saxo Bank. Whether you choose to trade options listed on CBOE or Hong Kong Exchange or anywhere else, the contract will be uniform and carry the same specifics. This uniformity is also called standardization. In other words, they are the same in type, style, underlying stock, unit of trade, exercise, and expiration. The process of standardization very much resembles a production line, where a bottle of Coca-Cola will have the same size, label, color, and content. This standardization provides uniformity and consistency, which is helpful when learning about a new trading tool. Now, as a buyer, you would gain from an option contract when the option contract goes up. For example, if you buy an option for $2 or $200 per contract, remember we have multiplied the premium by 100, and then you sell that option for $4, you would profit from the difference of $4 minus $2, which equals $2 times 100 shares, or $200. On the other side, if the value of the contract we bought goes down to just 50 cents, you would lose $1.50 per contract, or $150. When we sell or write an option for a premium, we would benefit when the option value decreases. Suppose you sold an option for $400. The money would go into your account as a credit of $400. This cash, however, would not increase your cash balance until the option contract is closed. Therefore, if you bought back the same option for $1, your net profit would be the difference, or $400 minus $100, which is $300. Conversely, if the option you sold cost you more to buy back, you would have a loss, as more money would leave your brokerage account than you collected. So, for example, you sold one option for $5 or $500 and the money went into your account. 2 weeks later, you buy back or close out the position on the same contract and pay $800 for it. The loss would be the difference between initial credit of $500 and the closing debit of $800. In other words, $300. So let's review what you've learned. Options are no longer traded exclusively by professional investors. In the last decade, brokers have made options available to individual investors. They're used for a variety of reasons, such as protection of a position or portfolio, income, and speculation. In order to realize the full potential of options, you must take time to learn about the pros and cons of options and determine how best you can use options within your investment portfolios. Option contracts are exchange listed and are standardized in terms of their type, style, underlying stock, exercise price, and expiration. The two types of options are calls and puts. While a buyer, a holder of a call, has the right to purchase stocks of a stock at a predetermined price, the buyer of a put has the right to sell an underlying stock at a specific price during the option's life cycle. The life cycle of an option is typically up to 9 months, after which options cease to trade. Owners of an option can only exercise an option on or before the third Friday of the expiration month.